It is 618 AD, and you are born in Chang'an, the most magnificent city in the world. Your father is a minor official in the Tang court. Not powerful enough to matter, but educated enough to dream. Your mother is the kind of woman who wraps every lesson in silk. Sit straight. Speak softly. A woman's worth, she tells you, is measured in what she does not say. By the time you are 4, you know how to pour tea without spilling a drop. By 7, you can recite 3 classical poems from memory. By 9, your calligraphy earns praise from your tutor. Your composure earns praise from everyone else. You learn to move like water. Not rushing. Not splashing. Just flowing, always in the direction others point you. Your mother calls this grace. You will later call it training. The years inside your family's courtyard pass gently. Peach blossoms in spring, the smell of summer rain on stone, the amber light of autumn through paper windows. You grow among these things, soft-footed, careful, increasingly beautiful. And beauty in Tang Dynasty China is not a gift. It is a debt, waiting to be collected. You are 14 when the collector arrives. An imperial decree, sealed in red and gold, reaches your father's desk. The palace is searching for new consorts for the inner court. Every family of standing is expected to present their daughters for consideration. Your father reads it twice. Your mother begins embroidering your best robes that same evening. Nobody asks you anything. The selection takes place in the capital. You stand in a line of girls so long, you cannot see either end. All of you between 13 and 17. All dressed in pale silk. All with your names written on small cards pinned to your sleeves. Like market goods waiting to be priced. Imperial examiners walk the line. Too round in the face. Next. Too sharp in the eyes. Next. Voice too high. Next. Hands too rough. Next. When they reach you, you keep your gaze at the floor. You breathe without being seen to breathe. The examiner lifts your chin with 2 fingers, tilts your face toward the light, and steadies you the way a merchant steadies jade. Looking for flaws. Calculating value. He nods. You have passed. Hooray. You are taken to a guest house with 40 other girls who also passed. For 3 weeks you are tested further. Your music, do you play the pipa? Your poetry, can you compose under pressure? Your movement, walk the length of this hall while we watch. Your reaction, what do you do when a eunuch speaks sharply to you? You do everything correctly. You have been practicing for this your entire life, without knowing it. On the final day, names are read aloud in a courtyard decorated with chrysanthemums and imperial banners. Yours is among them. You have been selected as a consort for the Tang imperial court. Your mother, brought to witness the announcement, presses her sleeve against her mouth to muffle a sound that is equal parts weeping and pride. Your father bows so deeply that his forehead nearly grazes the courtyard tiles. You stand behind them. Spine straight. Hands folded. Already beginning to understand what none of them will admit. You are not going to a life. You are going to a position. The carriage that takes you to the palace is the finest thing you have ever ridden in. Lacquered red, curtained in embroidered silk, pulled by horses with braided manes. The streets of Chang'an blur past the window like a painting being slowly rolled up and put away. You do not look back. The palace swallows you whole. Its walls are 10 times the height of any building you have seen. Its corridors stretch so far that your footsteps echo before they return. There are gardens inside these walls, entire gardens with their own ponds and pavilions and carefully arranged rocks, and yet it all feels sealed. complete and sealed. Your rank is established on your first day. As a new consort, you are ninth in the hierarchy. Above you are 8 other tiers: noble ladies, beauties, chosen ones, talented ones, and at the very top, the Empress herself. Below you, there are dozens more. The whole system is as precisely ordered as the court music, every instrument knowing exactly when to play and when to fall silent. You are told your duties. You are given a chamber, 2 handmaidens, a monthly allowance of silk and silver, and a schedule that fills every hour from dawn prayers to evening lights. What you are not given is a choice. The Emperor is a man you see from a distance at first. He sits at the center of all things the way the sun sits at the center of the sky, everyone oriented around him, everyone warm in his attention, and cold without it. He is not unkind. He is simply vast. Vast, and distracted by the weight of ruling everything. He visits the inner court on a rotation, guided by a wooden tablet system that assigns his evenings like a calendar of appointments. Sometimes a senior consort arranges the schedule. Sometimes the Empress herself manages it. You wait for your name to come up. 3 months pass. Then 4. On the night he finally visits your chamber, you play the pipa for him. He listens with his eyes half closed, the way men listen when something has genuinely reached them. When you finish, he asks you to play again. You do. He stays until the candle burns to half its length. That is the most attention anyone has paid you since you arrived. You think, perhaps this is enough. Perhaps this is what love looks like when it has an empire to run. You are wrong. But you won't know that yet, for another year. The inner court teaches you things no tutor ever mentioned. It teaches you that beauty is a currency that inflates when you are new, and deflates the moment someone newer arrives. It teaches you that friendship between consorts is always negotiated, what you share, what you withhold, who you smile at in front of whom. It teaches you that the eunuchs see everything, remember everything, and that a small gift placed in the right hand at the right moment is worth more than any formal petition. You learn quickly. You have always learned quickly. You rise. Slowly, through quiet competence and careful patience, you rise. By your 2nd year you are a ranked beauty. By your 3rd you are a talented one. The Emperor visits more frequently. You give him what he needs: music when he is tired, poetry when he is restless, silence when he simply wants to not be the Emperor for 1 hour. He begins to call you by a name he invented himself. A small name, private, never used in court. The kind of name a person gives something they do not want to share. You almost believe you are loved. Then, she arrives. She is 16. You are 22 and already feel ancient by comparison. She enters the court in a flutter of peach-colored silk, laughing at something her attendant said, and every head in the garden turns without meaning to. The Emperor sees her at a spring banquet. He laughs at something she says, genuinely laughs, the kind that reaches his eyes, and from that evening forward, the wooden tablet schedule begins to look very different. Your name comes up less. You do not panic. You have watched this happen to others before you, the slow dimming of imperial attention, the polite distance that grows across a chamber that was once warm. You have watched women unravel at this transition, weeping to their maids, making desperate moves that only confirmed their irrelevance. You will not do that. You smile at the new consort during morning greetings. You send her a gift of coral hairpins from your own collection. When she kneels before you, as all lower-ranked consorts must, you raise her up yourself and say something gracious about her embroidery. The other consorts watch you and call it dignity. You are already counting. What you learn about the new favorite is this: she is not stupid. Pretty girls who are only pretty do not survive in this court. She has a mind like a blade hidden in a flower arrangement, decorative until it isn't. She has cultivated her own network of eunuchs, her own informants, her own careful alliances. She laughed her way into the emperor's heart, and then quietly began building the architecture of something more permanent. You see it before anyone else does. You see it the night you find your third handmaiden speaking in low voices with someone from the favorite's wing. You dismiss the girl the next morning without explanation. You do not mention it to anyone. You simply begin locking your cabinet where you keep your private correspondence. The seasons turn. The emperor builds the new consort her own garden pavilion. He calls it the Palace of Gathered Fragrance. The name is a poem he composed for her. He has not composed a poem for you in 2 years. But you are not powerless. Not even close. Your position now, 5th in rank, gives you administrative authority over the inner court's eastern wing. You manage the silk distribution records, the seasonal food allocations, the assignment of palace maids to junior consorts. Numbers and ledgers have never frightened you. Your father taught you to read accounts before he taught you poetry. You begin to watch where the favorite's resources come from. Her pavilion budget. Her silk allocations. The eunuchs assigned to her. Slowly, methodically, you start redirecting small things. A delivery delayed by paperwork. A requested fabric color that is perpetually out of stock. A particularly sharp tongue maid reassigned to the laundry. Nothing that can be traced. Nothing that can be named. Just friction, accumulating quietly, like dust. Then you turn 27, and your world contracts to a single point. You are pregnant. The emperor comes to see you when the news reaches him. He sits with you in your garden under the winter-bear plum trees and speaks with a gentleness you had almost forgotten was possible. For 3 months, you let yourself imagine a different kind of life. A son who changes the calculation entirely. An alliance between you and the emperor that goes beyond music and poetry, a bloodline alliance, permanent, written into the dynasty's bones. Your son is born in the 4th month of the year. Healthy, loud, furious about being alive. The emperor visits once, holds him for the duration of a single incense stick, names him, and leaves. The wooden tablet does not reflect any change in schedule. You rise the next morning before your maids are awake. You sit alone in the cold gray light and make a decision. Everything you do from this point forward is for him. Not for the emperor. Not for your rank. Not for some version of love that this palace cannot contain. For him. The favorite has noticed your son. She sends a gift, a bolt of imperial yellow silk and a small jade ornament carved in the shape of a rabbit. Very appropriate for a newborn. Very well timed. You return the gift with a gracious note. You also instruct your most trusted maid to taste everything your son eats, before he eats it. You say it is a health precaution. You say nothing else about why. The years accumulate. Your son grows. He has your careful eyes and his father's restless hands and the particular stillness of a child who has learned early that this palace sees everything. When he is 4, another consort's child falls ill after a banquet. The physicians call it weak constitution. You call it a warning and triple the tasting protocol. When he is 6, you arrange for him to be tutored alongside the imperial princes, but strategically placed near those whose mothers you trust. Alliances begin in the nursery in this palace. You learned that lesson by watching others make it. When he is 8, you hear the rumor for the first time that the favorite has been quietly suggesting to certain senior ministers that her own son would make a more suitable crown prince. That her boy has a better temperament. A stronger constitution. More natural leadership. You hear this on a Tuesday. By Thursday, you have sent 3 separate gifts to 3 separate ministers who will be part of any succession conversation. By the following month, those ministers have each received a second gift from sources they cannot trace back to you, but will remember came in your favor. Your hands never shake anymore when you pour tea. They haven't in years. You are 33 when the favorite overreaches. She moves against a senior consort directly, an accusation of sorcery, charges formal enough to require a tribunal. The senior consort is someone you have kept carefully neutral for a decade, someone whose support you have quietly cultivated through small kindnesses and remembered favors. The tribunal convenes. You attend as required. You say nothing during the proceedings. But beforehand, you speak to 2 of the 3 presiding eunuch officials. Privately. In a language that requires no words. The charges are dismissed. The favorite loses face publicly for the first time. The emperor is displeased with the disruption. That evening, the wooden tablet turns in your direction for the first time in 4 months. You do not celebrate. You note it, file it, and return to planning. What no one in this palace ever understands, what the favorite never understood, is that power here is not a destination. It is a maintenance. Every relationship must be watered. Every alliance must be fed. Every potential threat must be understood before it becomes a threat. You are 38 when the emperor's health begins to decline. He has been unwell in small ways for 2 years, a persistent cough, a fatigue that no physician's tonic seems to touch, a grayness spreading across his complexion like frost moving across stone. The court pretends not to notice. The court is very good at pretending not to notice. The succession question, which has been murmured in corridors for a decade, now hums in the walls of every official chamber. Your son is 17. The favorite son is 15. The mathematics of this moment are not complicated. You spend 6 months having a conversation with certain people using the language of tea, timing, and ledger entries. You say nothing that can be repeated. You do nothing that can be attributed. But you are fluent in this language now, more fluent than you ever were in poetry. The favorite sees what is happening. Of course she does. She begins to move as well, her own network activated, her own gifts flowing to her own ministers. But she moves loudly. Afraid, and moving loudly. You move like water. The emperor dies in the autumn of your 39th year, on a morning when the leaves outside his chamber window are red and gold and falling without drama. Your son is named Crown Prince 3 days later. The decree is read aloud in the Hall of Supreme Harmony before assembled ministers, all of whom nod with the smooth certainty of men who helped write the outcome. The favorite is reassigned to the Palace of Extended Longevity in the northeastern corner of the compound. Far from the emperor's old chambers. Far from the center of anything. Her son is given a princely title. But no succession claim. You receive the ministers who come to congratulate you. You serve them tea yourself, which surprises them. You say very little. You smile. That evening, alone in your garden for the first time in what feels like years, you sit under the plum tree where you sat the morning your son was born. You try to remember what it felt like to want something for yourself. Something that was not a position, or a protection, or a calculation. Something that had no strategic value at all. You cannot remember. The wind moves through the bare branches. A single late blossom, stubborn, improbable, trembles at the end of a twig. You watch it until the lamp oil runs out, and the garden goes dark. Your son ascends the throne 2 years later when he comes of age. His coronation fills the capital with silk banners and drum processions and the kind of noise that only an empire making history can produce. You are given the title of Empress Dowager. Your chambers are enlarged. Your allowance is doubled. Senior ministers bow to you in the same hallway where, 20 years ago, they looked through you entirely. You have survived everything this palace could send. You have won. And you are sitting in a garden alone on the night of your son's coronation, listening to distant celebration, feeling nothing that resembles joy, wondering at what exact moment victory and loss became indistinguishable from one another. The court historians will write of you as steadfast, virtuous, a model of imperial womanhood. They will write of the strategic brilliance by which the crown passed to the rightful heir. They will write of your decades of loyal service, your administrative competence, your unbroken composure. They will not write about the girl who stood in that first courtyard at 14, with her name pinned to her sleeve like a price tag. They will not write about the winter mornings you sat with your son watching him breathe, terrified, counting his breaths. They will not write about what you gave up, not in one moment, not dramatically, but in the daily erasure of choosing the right thing over the honest thing, the strategic thing over the true thing, the necessary thing over the human thing. For 30 years, history remembers the crown. It forgets the cost. You sit in your garden until the celebration quiets and the lanterns go dark one by one across the palace rooftops. Then you rise, slowly, because your knees are not what they were, and you walk back inside. You do not look at the stars. You already know they are beautiful. You stopped needing to look at beautiful things a long time ago.